When God made our first parents, Adam and Eve, He commanded them to be fruitful and multiply. This call of men and women to produce more like themselves is at the heart of the Christian understanding of marriage. Based on the Genesis account, sexuality in Catholic marriage is understood to have two purposes or ends: procreation and the unity of the spouses. If this is the case and the Catholic Church is such an advocate of life, why does it oppose in vitro fertilization? In vitro fertilization is the process of uniting sperm and egg via laboratory procedures, using sperm and egg collected apart from the normal sexual act of the couple. In vitro fertilization is often sought as a recourse for couples who struggle with infertility, perhaps after years of trying to achieve pregnancy through ordinary means. If the first purpose of sexuality is procreation, then why can't Catholics avail themselves of this process to fulfill the procreative end of marriage? The easiest and clearest way to answer this question is to emphasize that each individual sexual act between married persons should be ordered to both unity and procreation, and not merely to one or the other. But in vitro fertilization robs the sexual intimacy of spouses of both of these ends, in addition to creating a host of secondary moral issues and unexpected horrors. Because of how sperm is collected, men are often obliged to masturbate in order to collect the necessary material to begin the laboratory process of scientifically made children. Because the act of masturbation itself cannot be ordered to procreation, in vitro fertilization has already failed to honor the dignity and love that ought to be involved in a sexual relationship. Whether the man's spouse is involved in this process or not, masturbation still involves an act which does not intend to unite the couple in a single physical bond, which is contrary to Christ's description of sexual intimacy as the married couple becoming no longer two but one flesh. Yet even in the cases of surgical collection that avoid masturbation, removal of sperm and egg from the human body to unite them in a third place is to eliminate the child's right to be conceived through that great act of love between spouses. Additionally, the very laboratory process that results in fertilized embryos, which is to say a new life with personal human dignity, leads to the killing of unwanted or genetically inferior embryos at the discretion of the clinic or couple. Furthermore, in vitro fertilization inevitably leads to an indefinite stasis of extra frozen embryos, which may be kept as a safeguard for couples to produce future offspring, neither permitted to live or to die, but only to indefinitely sleep. These embryos join the countless others frozen throughout the world, with numbers from 2016 estimating between 400,000 and 1.4 million frozen embryos in the US alone. As Dignitas Personae says, the human embryo from the very beginning has the dignity proper to a person. Respect for that dignity is owed to every human being, because each one carries in an indelible way his own dignity and value. The killing that accompanies in vitro fertilization can be rationalized away by the couple because of their urgent wish for children, and is easy to ignore for those doctors who habituate themselves to this scientific nightmare. But there is no good reason that multiple innocent lives should be ended simply to result in one healthy life. And even that healthy life, that new human being, will be robbed of being created out of a loving sexual act between spouses, but just as part of workplace procedure. It should of course be emphasized that those born via in vitro fertilization should not doubt that they are of equal human dignity as those born through traditional means, just as those born out of wedlock or through acts of rape remain fully human and beloved by God. For whatever evil acts men may do, God can always bring about good from them, and new human life is always good considered in itself. Yet it is obviously better, both for mother and child, for people to be conceived through an act of love. Although in vitro fertilization is condemned by the Church because of how it separates unity and procreation, any scientific procedure that can treat infertility without this separation is permitted. For example, in addition to ordinary observational methods to increase fertility, such as natural family planning, procedures to increase fertility such as surgically correcting tubal blocks in the reproductive system would also be fully licit. But suppose these methods have been exhausted. Where does this leave couples who remain infertile? How should they deal with their suffering? Well, first and foremost, our suffering can always be made redemptive through the offering up of tribulation to God, and can be for the benefit of the souls in purgatory, whose sentence can be lessened by our intercession for them. Secondly, there always remains the possibility of expressing a desire for children and parenthood through adoption. in the image of the fatherhood of Saint Joseph. Thirdly, whether an individual sexual act between a couple leads to procreation or not, the intimacy of the couple remains a good and noble pursuit, which allows for greater unity between the couple. An act is ordered to procreation in the eyes of the Church, not through its actually resulting in children in a prescriptive sense, but in being the kind of act which could result in procreation, and in a spirit of openness to children. God does not command the impossible, and he does not command that one bring about certain results, only that you act well and entrust whatever results you receive to God and his providence. The Catechism articulates the issue in the following way, noting, "A child is not something owed to one, but is a gift, the supreme gift of marriage. A child may not be considered a piece of property, for only the child possesses genuine rights, the right to be the fruit of the specific act of the conjugal love of his parents, and the right to be respected as a person from the moment of his conception." For further reading and consolation on this topic for couples who are struggling to conceive, it may benefit you to read articles 2373 to 2379 of the Catechism of the Catholic Church.